Is plank of the daytime. I'll tell you what it is time for now, though. It's time to speak to our next guest, and I'm delighted to say we're going to speak to Marilyn Hawes, who's the CEO of Freedom from Abuse, and she's been campaigning on behalf of victims of grooming gangs in a most magnificent way. And I'm delighted to say Marilyn joins us for the very first time. Marilyn, welcome to the Mike Graham Show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me, Mike. Thank you very
Very nice
much.
to see you. Tell us what from Abuse is all about. Tell us about when it started and how you got involved.
Well, it started 20 odd years ago when my children, well, he was my boss, the guy that was the abuser, the paedophile,
Yeah.
and he was the teacher of the school. And I have 4 children, and he decided that he was going to hit on my 3 boys. And he, fast forward, he was arrested. He finally said he was guilty. He went to the Crown Court, and he was allowed to walk away with just a fine. And I thought, no, I don't think so. So I fought. I fought it all the way. I met the Attorney General at the time, who was Peter Goldsmith, and I was just so angry. And yes, sure enough, we all tottered off to the High Courts of Justice, and he finally went down behind bars. And from that moment on, I became a media whore, really. I've done so much media, and it just hasn't stopped. I'm now also a presenter for Unprecedented TV, as well as doing Freedom from Abuse. And what we do is really try to raise the bar on what, if you can't identify grooming, and if you can't identify the abuser in the room, in the street, wherever it is, then you're going to miss it, and you're going to try to ignore it. It is still the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
People don't. I can turn the air conditioning on by just going to a drinks party, and people say, "What do you do?" I tell them, and they disappear.
Right.
I go into the ether.
Yeah, I mean, and is that do you find that to be a very kind of middle class reaction as well to it?
Oh,
Because you know
definitely,
what
100%.
we see, I suppose, every day is that the sort of what you might call the cognoscenti, the people who have dinner parties in Islington, they sort of look down on working class people who live in places that they would never want to live in, surrounded by people they would never want to be surrounded by, and they look down on people and go, "Oh, how awful! You're just
Oh,
complaining because you must be some kind of racist."
Mike, I have honestly, I've been called a racist because I've called out the grooming gangs as being Pakistani over 20 years ago. I'm not racist. I have, she's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm not racist at all. But you've got to tell the truth. Tell it like it is. Speak it out. Tell it for what it is. But I have lost so many friends because what I did. I mean, it really is. People just don't want to know. I've seen people, when this first happened, I was living in a village in West Sussex, right? And when this came out and it got into the press, because what I'd done hadn't ever been done before, by going, I was the first person apparently in the country to get something to the High Courts of Justice without using a lawyer, because I was so angry, and I made my own case. And
Right.
but people would walk out of the post office as they saw me. They'd cross the road. They wouldn't say anything. It's like I'd murdered somebody, and I was the innocent one.
Yeah, it's dreadful, isn't it? And what's been your experience? Because I speak to Maggie Oliver quite a lot, and obviously she was
Yeah,
in the Manchester Police, and she tells me that it's still going on. Two, there's an awful lot of people who are involved in it inside the police force and inside local
yeah.
councils and all of that, who have never really had to face the music about any of this stuff.
Absolutely, and it's criminal in its own right. That is, I mean, I know Maggie, and it is. It's from the top down. There are police that were involved in the Rotherham case. They were involved in it. Of course, with any organisation, you get corrupt people, you get dodgy people,
Right.
and that is true with the police. I mean, you've only got to look at the recruitment going on with Met Police. I mean, I think Robert Peel must be turning in his grave when he sees what's happening with policing in this country. And yeah, it is, and people are silenced, and you're sort of kind of seeing it now again, actually, with the things going on with government. That they don't. If you raise the Pakistani Muslim card, then, and obviously Keir Starmer likes them, you can tell that, it's pretty obvious. Then people walk away from you, and it's appalling. No one thinks about these poor girls and boys, not just the girls, there are boys as well, whose lives have been absolutely devastated by this medieval, brutal behaviour that goes on. And it goes on within their own culture as well, you see. I mean, they've no respect for women. I don't think you could find a more patriarchal, controlling, if you call it a culture, than the Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. It's what they do, their own,
Well, we're
women.
looking. I mean, I see that Nick Buckley and you were sort of, on Twitter the other day talking about the situation in West Midlands Police, where which is not necessarily connected at the moment to a grooming gang story, but it probably will be at some point.
It
But
will be. Here's
turns
a
out
mine.
that mosque leaders were part of a recruitment panel to work out who should become the new chief constable of the West Midlands, who's now still in a job, even though, despite the fact that he's lied to Parliament, he's misled MPs, he's misled the public, he's basically in hock to the Muslim community in Aston and in Birmingham, and yet he's still there.
It's outrageous. But there you go, you see, it's the Muslim card. It's the same with the boats that come in, boats are votes, aren't they? I mean, what really annoys me, because I get involved with online safety as well. I mean, all the courses we do, it's on about, I do domestic abuse. I look after and help domestic abuse well, I'm going to say survivors. You see, not everybody does survive abuse. That's the awful thing about it. It's so toxic. It absolutely causes, I mean, about 80% of poor mental health in this country is caused by all sorts of abuse that goes on in childhood. And people are silenced because people don't want to hear it. And that's still on now. And of course, when you get older, in your 40s, that's the mental, the anguish, and if you don't tell people, if you don't get that trauma out of your system, it will cause physiological problems later on. And it does cause suicidal thoughts, it does cause anxiety, depression, all sorts of addictions, anything really to hide away and dumb down what you're really feeling. I mean, I can remember when I knew about my children, I felt dreadful. I felt like I gift wrapped my children and handed them over to a paedophile. It was dreadful. I felt awful, and I had I suppose most women have got that. I had a shopping disorder. Really, I couldn't stop shopping. I would go in shops, and because I thought if I bought my children presents and things, it was like putting a plaster on them to try and heal. I mean, I was in such a mess, and I
Right.
started drinking, and then not drink. I wasn't an alcoholic. Well, I suppose people would say I was. I mean, my doctor used to say to me, "Oh, so I'd rather you drank a bottle a night than give you antidepressants." But do you drink a second bottle? I said, "No, I just buy bigger bottles."
Well, this is the thing. But isn't it amazing, right, that the Labour government right now are getting their knickers in a twist about X and about Grok and about how it is possible to invent images and to humiliate women online and to create these sexualized images that women obviously don't want, and that's fine for them to be upset. But they seem to be more upset about images of sex than actual sexual abuse.
Well, absolutely. The only reason they're doing this is because, I mean, these images are all over every platform. You'll find them everywhere. But it's so patently, transparently obvious that it's X they're attacking because of. You look at I'm on Twitter a lot. You look at the comments, there's not one good thing said about Starmer or Labour or Shabana Mahmood, any of them. Rachel Reeves, it's absolutely a mass of. I mean, he must be so impervious to what people think of him. He's just, well, he should be plank of the week, quite frankly.
I mean, he quite often is plank of the week. To be fair, I mean, it has to be somebody.
Good.
It does.
He
It does.
needs
I
to
mean, we
be.
do plank of the day now as well. But I mean, Starmer, I think, has been on the list for plank of the week every single
Oh,
week since he's been prime minister.
he's an utter disgrace. He's actually a traitor. He's a traitor because he shows no interest in the people that voted him in, and I'm not one of them, thank goodness. The people that voted him in, he's got no respect for their wishes. I mean, he's such a liar. And it's so obvious he doesn't know what he's doing, and none of them do. There's no one in his government that has run a business that's like understands how things work. I mean, Rachel from accounts, what a mess she's made of everything. It's absolutely appalling. What upsets me is they can rush this thing through on online safety, right? Which the online safety bill came out well over a year ago, and it's been there all along that if people don't take this stuff down, then they will get 10% of their income from these platforms taken off them. That's in the online safety bill. So it's there anyway. But it's just interesting how it's only on X, because it's not, it's on all of them. And what about pornography? That's absolutely dreadful. I mean,
Yeah.
what about Andrew Tate stuff? Nothing happens about that. It's
No.
all about speech. He doesn't want free speech, and he could rush through this, not rush through, but he could set it up within a week, this rape gang inquiry. They're dithering, they're dragging their feet. They clearly don't want to do it. And I feel so sorry for these women. I'm absolutely furious about it, quite honestly,
Yeah,
because
I know. It's
they,
absolutely shocking. I mean, Liz
I will
Kendall,
get
you know, who's
justice.
now the Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology. You might remember last year when Tim Montgomery was on Any Questions with her on Radio 4, and he started to ask questions about the grooming gangs inquiry. And she kind of was very dismissive and just said, "Oh, we're gonna, you know, blow that dog whistle, are we? We're gonna play that
Yeah.
racist card, you know." And that's their first reaction as soon as you mentioned it. We
It's,
just had some messages coming up there. Lots of people very, very happy to see you. Marilyn is great, says Solly. What a super
oh,
lady, says
that's
Clean Up
nice.
VC. We also had a message from somebody. Marilyn is one of your best guests, says Andrew. We also had a really interesting note from somebody who said they work in the NHS, and as soon as they mentioned grooming gangs as part of a conversation, they were hauled in before the HR department
Yeah.
and sort of quizzed as to what was wrong with them.
I have to say this, because I do a lot of work with the NHS, right? I do a lot of work with talking about lived experience to students who may be doing mental health, or, I mean, you know, my life is unbelievable. I mean, the things that I've had happen, it's just really unbelievable. And they are a toxic organisation for sure. And one of the lecturers once said to me, you know, you daren't whistleblow. I mean, you daren't whistleblow. And we could have a whole conversation, Mike, about Lucy Letby. That's another thing. She's the only one that knows whether she's guilty or not. But you know, she made the big mistake of complaining and winning her case against some of the senior management or the doctors, whatever. And you know, they will turn on you. It's a toxic organisation, it really is. And the way they're backing puberty blockers, I mean, that's child abuse. How can they do? It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful. And you'll find when you do interviews very often for the NHS, they are happily doing the diversity, inclusion, and equality card, because you'll find that when you are interviewing them, you rarely see anyone that's, you know, a white applicant. Then a lot of them come Africa, Asia, whatever. Some of them you can't even understand because they don't speak the English properly. I mean, and I'm not being racist with that. I mean, there was a law that said you can't come into this country unless you can speak English, you know, which is, I mean, now English, I don't know if you saw that the other day, English is now the second language here.
And also, you see all these applications for jobs which say, you know, this is only open to members of ethnic minorities. And, you know, basically, if you're white, don't bother applying. And if you did that in any other form, if you said, you know, only bother applying if you're white, can you imagine? I mean, people would be
It's
locked
just
up.
discrimination. It's discrimination. In the same way as well, another thing that really annoys me, oh my gosh, I could sit until lunchtime, because in this violence against women and girls, right? Well, where he says, I remember Starmer saying that it was his personal mission to actually reduce violence against women and girls. He fails to talk about the violence against men and boys. And that is right up there with the girls. So I am very honoured this week with Unprecedented TV. I'm going to be talking to the chairperson of Mankind, because that's the only charity in the country that deals with male victims of domestic abuse. And they are very much out there. And they suffer and they stay silent. And because they stay silent, because they worry about what the woman is going to say to them in court. Are they going to say, oh, you know what? Oh, Your Honour, you know, my husband's abusing my child. And women in court that are abusers are incredibly manipulative, very manipulative, fluttering their eyelashes and all that. I see it loads. I've seen it loads of times. And the child goes, you know, oh, the voice of the child must be heard. What a load of tosh. If only they were. If only they were. And you end up with the child going to the wrong parent. And, you know, but do not think that women do not abuse. Men are being abused almost in equal measure to women, and they are
Mm.
just as violent. I was talking to a barrister 2 years ago where this showed me this picture of this girl. She's about 5'2", gorgeous, gorgeous, long blonde hair, looked absolutely stunning. I said, what's she done wrong? Oh, well, she's just pushed her partner through a plate glass window. He's been in intensive care for 3 weeks. And you wouldn't think she could have thrown a pat of butter. But the thing is, men are unrightly frightened of, are they going to lose their house? They will go to the police and they will say, my partner, whatever, is doing this. And I know police officers that just laugh at them. Oh, you let a woman hit you. Well, if you are a nice guy, you're not going to hit a woman back. You're not going to hit women because you're a nice guy. It's the same with women. I was 19 years in domestic abuse. I didn't actually hit back or anything like that. I think I throw a bucket of ice over him once. But, if you are a person that is not made like that, then, you're not going to hit back. And the police don't support these men either.
There's so much of it going on, isn't there? It really is extraordinary. Well, listen, I mean, I can't believe I've never met you before. I can't believe we've never spoken before. I don't know where I've been all your life, basically. Marilyn, it's amazing. I mean, people are loving you today. So we must get you back on again. We've got much more to talk about, I'm sure. But where do people find you on? Is it Unprecedented TV, did you say?
I have now got a show on Unprecedented TV. My show, and this is another thing. I'm so outraged about people living in their little plastic bubble. Sort of like pruning their roses and looking like they've got a smell under their nose. There are so many issues in life that people want to ignore, and they don't want to accept and understand people's reality. So I am on my show, Heart and Soul. I'm bringing people in who have really been at the coalface of pain and heartache. So I'm also going to be talking to Three Dads Walking. I'm going to be talking to a wonderful professor I've known for ages, talking about domestic homicide. I'm going down that dark route of issues that need to be given oxygen because they are right on our elbow and people choose to walk away. Hoping after an hour's interview, people will be, more enlightened. I had a lady on the other day who had fostered, oh my gosh, the unsung heroes of society, had fostered 30 children. And, I've pushed that out because we need more foster carers. And, anything like I can think of that, I am fully booked all the way to the end of April. I can't believe it. It's been the easiest thing to say to people, would you come on my show and talk about what you've gone through, because most people, I think, form a charity because they've been there. I mean, and I have the passion. I will do this until I'm sort of put in a crematorium because I have I will be the voice of the people that haven't got a voice, and specifically the voice for children. I don't mind. I'll take anyone on. I don't care. I'm sure of my ground.
Well, listen,
I am authentic in what I know.
Marilyn, absolute pleasure to talk to you. A pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll be talking to you, I'm sure, a lot in the coming weeks and months. It's fascinating to find out what you know and to hear your perspective on the world.
If you want to a paedophile, I can do that for you as well, because people have all sorts of trash in their brain about what they read, and I can tell you that's a very interesting conversation we can have.
Absolutely. Marilyn, great to see you. Thank you so much. Brilliant to talk to you. Marilyn Hawes there, CEO of Freedom from Abuse. What an amazing force of nature that woman is. I mean, she said she could talk till lunchtime. She probably could have done. That was absolutely extraordinary. I can't believe I've never spoken to her or met her before.